Hi, my name is Melanie Warner, and I lost my beautiful son, Carson Warner Kennedy, in August of 2012. And we experienced the loss through medical error. I live in California, and we had thought we were going to do something routine, and it turned into an accident when a nurse actually overdosed my son, gave him 8 times a legal dosage of medication, and almost killed me at the same time. So I feel very grateful to be here, and I have had a spiritual shift, I guess, from this experience. I was kind of your type A, take on the world, build things, make things, do things, and then I literally had this kind of near-death experience and then lost my son and came back all warm and fuzzy and completely different priority in my life. And it used to be more about how can I build something, how can I make something, and now it's more about how can I serve a community, how can I help other people. So through my own grief, I went through so many different stages of loss, between just not only losing my son, but at the same time, it was a catalyst in my divorce and my dreams for my family and for my children and everything that I'd worked hard for. I had a business that had taken me 20 years to build, that at the same time the economy hit and I started to lose this income, and I just had such an overwhelming sense of loss, of losing everything I knew, everything that I thought had defined me. So I went through the loss of my son, divorce, bankruptcy, foreclosure, tax audits, and even had to ultimately go to tax court. And looking back on all of that, it was absolutely one of the worst times of my life. And I didn't know how I was going to get through it. And I just wish that I had somebody that had been through these things that could have walked me through it and said, you know what, it's going to be okay. And I knew their story, and I could see that they had come out the other side. And what I didn't know at the time is the reason I was going through all of that was to be where I'm at today. So it's now many years later. My son would have been 12 this year. And through this process of loss, I found there were 7 critical stages of recovery that I had to go through. And I kept applying them. I was journaling a lot, and I kept applying them through each stage of loss. Every time I lost something, it was like a tidal wave, like it was like a death. It just triggered the feelings of losing my son all over again. And it was like all these things happening at once was a little bit overwhelming, but I got through it. And so I know some of you watching may be going through something similar. Your pain is very raw. What you're feeling doesn't make any sense. You're wondering if you're ever going to feel okay again, if you're going to feel joy without feeling guilt. I can promise you that you're going to be okay and you will get through it, and it is a process. But it prompted me to write a book called Coping with the Loss of a Child, which is a series of books. And this is the first one in the series that includes over 50 different stories of other parents who have gone through a loss. And it shares their wisdom, their resources, and what I love the most is after the end of each story, it shares their contact info. So now you have someone guiding you through it. No matter what your loss is, whether you lost a child, sometimes parents that lost a child to suicide or to an overdose, there's a stigma that the family feels is left on them, this kind of view or perception from society with judgment, and there's a different process of grief that needs to come from that. There are parents who have lost children through a violent death or at the hands of someone else, like a homicide or murder, and they have a completely different process of anger that they have to go through. So each of these stories is written from the perspective of the parent who has accomplished that, and they will share that experience so that even if you're just getting a terminal diagnosis and you know that you're living with the inevitable process of a child that's going to pass away, how do you live with hope in spite of that? So I'm just so amazed at these people, their courage. In fact, Gloria Horsley, who's with us for Open to Hope Foundation, shared her story in our book as well. She's been an amazing guide and a light in my life. And I just think the most important thing for people to understand is that they're not alone. My mission and my passion in life is helping people overcome loss and become that best version of themselves. Even though they feel like they've lost that person, I know that that person is still within them somewhere and just needs to have that safe space to come out again.